Welcome back to the Vet Reset. Today, we've got something special planned to wrap up Season 1. Over the past 8 episodes, we've explored powerful insights, shared personal stories, and talked through some practical tips to help veterinary professionals reset their mindset, career, and well-being. In this episode, we're taking a look back at some of the funniest, memorable, and most impactful moments from Season 1. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into the highlights together. Here we go.
Do or don't, calling out a client's behavior anonymously in a post about clinic policies.
I actually think it doesn't have to be anonymous, and also not calling it out. Mm-hmm. But again, professionally stating what the policy is and reinforcing it, I think that's okay to say it that way, and owning it. It's your policy, and it doesn't have to be done in a bad or nasty way, but it's just
so sorry. This is our policy.
This is it. So I'm doing it. Do or don't, creating a TikTok using a trending sound that is slightly inappropriate.
I feel like I do that a lot. So I'm probably going to go ahead and say do, but again, know your audience.
Yes.
If your audience is not into that sort of thing, don't. But for me, I play on the dark humor, maybe slightly inappropriate, but it's things that I joke about in the clinic too. So I'm doing it.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, so for you, do or don't, highlighting your clinic's price increases in a social post.
That I feel like I would not do.
Same.
I feel like social media is for the engagement, and it's for, again, depending on what everyone's personality and how they're using it. But I feel like that's more of a something you want to have a conversation with someone in the clinic, or depending on what's going on or what they're in for or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I like that. I agree.
Yeah, more of an in the clinic thing.
Yeah,
but I feel like walk-ins are the first thing that'll take down a day and take down your team
and push everybody behind.
Yes, yeah. So I'm gonna say cut general walk-ins.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. On-call hours for emergencies.
So for small animal, cut. There are emergency only practices out there that is what they're for. If you're working general practice, you have your set times. And I think that after that, you need to be able to go home and relax.
Yep.
And you need to be able to just be at home and not have to constantly worry. I mean, I have been through that scenario. Now, obviously, that's not the same for mixed animal or large animal vets. They have to be on call for emergencies in those scenarios, calving season, colic, you name it. But I do think that it needs to come with a good schedule, a good set boundaries. I know, we even set boundaries on times, like we'll answer the phone from this time, and then if it's after 2 a.m., you're going to have to wait until 6 or 8 or whenever. Right. So small animal, cut it. Large mixed animal, yes, but let's get better about setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Next up, drop off appointments.
Ooh.
Cut, keep, or change.
Oh, keep those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love drop-offs. I will keep those. Those drop-off appointments, I think, are key to having a smooth running day. Having people do drop-offs for your annuals, vaccines, kind of like routine things, is really, really key to keeping that appointment schedule nice and tight and clean, and also alleviates a lot of the pressure then on the team, so you can be doing things in parallel. So if it's even if it's like a rewrap bandage or something, someone else can start it while you're in a room, and then you come in and finish something. So it's just a really great efficiency tool.
I love that too. And I think that it kind of even goes back with our walk-in appointments. So instead of having a client wait there for hours or however long it may take, sorry, we'd be happy to try to work your patient in. Would you be allowed or would you allow us to keep your patient here? You drop them off. We'll work them in when you can, and then we'll give you a call.
Yep.
And if there's any issues or questions or anything, it's just a phone call away to get some answers. But yeah, that allows you to not have the stress of having all your walk-ins waiting in the lobby. And then you can do it and say, hey, somebody no-showed. All right, we got 2 drop-offs in. Let's get to those. So
Yeah, love it.
I will say that being professional, this is one of something I feel very passionate about. Being professional does not have to equal boring. And so oftentimes I do wear scrubs, but I also have a lot of printed shirts. I have shirts that say, tell your dog I said hi. I have shirts that have just tons of different dog faces. And I think one of the things that clients like about me is that's a way to show my personality. And, you can be professional, and I'm going to, be professional and, talk with respect and go through things. Obviously I went to school, so I have my information and my knowledge there, but to show that personality, because I've had people that go in and like, man, I know this person outside of work or the veterinary practice. But then when I go to see them as my dog's vet, then it's so business and straightforward and stuff. And to me, what you see is what you get. I'm the same in practice. I'm the same outside of practice. Maybe a little bit more cleaner while I'm in work scenario. But yeah, professional does not have to equal boring.
I agree with that.
But it can be practical. So
Yeah. I agree with that. I definitely, when I was in practice, I definitely did the white coat and all of that and scrubs underneath. I think, according to the AVMA, they've reported a positive first impression can significantly impact client satisfaction. Totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I think also it's important to, I'm going to say something really unpopular probably, but we have to, as vets, we sell. We sell ourselves, we sell our treatment plans, and I'm using sell in terms of having clients come on board with what you're recommending. Like it's sort of like selling yourself, it's selling your clinic, it's selling, the treatment plan that you're wanting them to take.
Absolutely. Well, and unfortunately, we're having to battle Dr. Google and social media experts that are not veterinarians, that are not in the veterinary community. So why should they trust us over, someone they're seeing online? So I think that's a really good point. And I know I have a friend on social media that his name's Dr. Josh, and he really talks about clinical empathy and how important it is to just listen to your clients as well. So obviously you want to be, introduced and go forward, make eye contact, shake hands if, that's your thing. And, some people don't want to touch. So, just kind of keep that in mind. But just really being open and listening to your client is huge in itself.
Today we're talking about are you getting paid your worth as a vet? And this is a big topic for us, something that we think about, I think, in vet school a little bit, and then more so when we get into real life and real life starts happening.
And I could say it could be, if we kept things short, a really quick episode to where we just answered no.
Yes.
But
we're going to keep
going. We'll get into that why we feel that way.
Yes. So the first thing I think is the obvious one we always hear about, like, why is there such a big gap between veterinarians and human doctors? And
it's a good question.
It's frustrating.
Especially and obviously there's going to be a lot of feelings around this topic. It's kind of a heated subject, and we don't mean to necessarily point fingers or have a lot of hard negative feelings, but it is very frustrating in our field because we do see a lot of these unfortunate side effects, I guess.
Right.
And whenever you go to school, so you're spending, 4 to 5, however long it took for you undergrad, and then you go to a professional school with medical training for another 4 years, you're getting at least 8 years plus, sometimes for your education in comparison with a lot of other human physicians, and you're making less than half of what they would make. Yeah. And we're having to learn about 7 more species than they are, which granted, love my human physicians and nurses, but it's like, where was that disconnect? Where did that go wrong?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting data point from AVMA. So veterinarians face a significant pay gap compared to human doctors, despite similar levels of education. The average starting salary for a vet is around $75,000, and the human medical doctor counterpart would be at $200,000.
I wonder what year that study was. Yeah. Because, fun fact, back in 2016, I had a friend, obviously I'm from Alabama. She was actually also from Alabama, and I believe her starting salary the first year out was $40,000.
I believe that. Yeah. Cause I think this was pre-COVID.
Oh yeah.
I personally, like when I started, it was, and this was coming out of an internship. Oh. And
which also don't get the pay that internships. Whole nother topic.
Yeah, but the experience, I mean, is everything. Yeah. But anyway, so the offer, and this was during a time where it was just difficult to get jobs, and my offer was like $35,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And this episode is all about like different, like how diverse you can be in veterinary medicine. And so I think it'll be fun to explore that. And I felt the same way in vet school. I was like, oh, I'm getting trained to do this, and this is what I'll do in the end. And I had no idea that there was other things you could do. Yeah. So even the industry aspect was, I had no clue. So if you asked me when I was in vet school what I'd be doing, never in a million years would I have thought I would be in industry. But here we are, and I'm happy for that. So let's go into this a little bit. So I want to go into exploring career flexibility, like some of the benefits of exploring that, some of the different things we can do with our degrees that maybe not everyone has thought about. And I think, the vet world is facing a pretty big issue right now with burnout. I think we hear about that quite a bit. We hear about it from our peers, and it's something that is really relevant. And so, what are some of the options that vets can do through, working through this and having that flexibility in their careers?
Yeah. Absolutely. I actually gave a talk at Auburn Veterinary School a few weeks ago, and that was one of the slides that I talked about. Was obviously I'm coming from a place of clinical practice, so that was what my talk was going to be tailored on, but to not get narrow-minded, and that there are other options out there, so you don't have to feel like, okay, I have to jump straight into practice or an internship or whatever. You can look at doing research. You can look at teaching. You can go into industry. I mean, there's so many different opportunities. And then even within clinical practice itself, there's a lot of different avenues between small, mixed, large, exotic. There's a world of possibilities that we can do. And I think especially for the non-practice side, we have good options for, say, if you do go into clinical practice and you're struggling with dealing with clients, or maybe you've gotten bit so many times that you're just anxious and burnt out and just can't take anymore. You're not getting paid what you think that you should get paid to do all of that that you're dealing with. And then some of these other options, not being in clinical practice, might still allow you to use your degree to, a very full benefit just in a different way that you originally imagined,
Right.
and maybe give you that mental break. You don't get into this profession to make money.
Yeah.
You do it because you care for animals.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It is not for the faint of heart. We are, I believe, the only profession that allows for humane euthanasia, which is definitely a huge toll in itself. And oftentimes you have clients that, will say, I'm sure this is the worst part of your job. And while 100% it can suck. And I've definitely had a few that will stay with me until I'm old and gray. It's not always the hardest part of the job. And I know for me, sometimes seeing those pets that you really want to help and you can't, whether it's because of finances or, a number of reasons. They are being abrasive or, whatever it is. Those are the ones that are the most frustrating to me. Obviously, euthanasia can be very, very emotional, but thankfully we do have that capability to end suffering and to give a peaceful passing. Doesn't mean that it doesn't affect us. And I think we oftentimes don't give ourselves enough time to process that grief that we have, because for me in private practice as a general practitioner, obviously it's different for other like specialties and whatnot. But as for me, I often see these pets from puppies and kittens to end of life. And you get that bond with them as well, as, their owners obviously have a connection with them, but you create a bond. And we have a little Dotson that comes in about every 3 weeks for her spa day. Her mom calls it her spa day because we do baths and whatnot. And it's, having those little connections or having some of them come in board and you get to love on them. And so when it does become that time, it's so heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking because of the relationships that you have with your clients and stuff as well.
Have you ever doubted your own skills and feel like you doubt your successes and feel like that you're not as talented or worthy as others see you, and that someday it's going to be found out that...
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think every vet goes through this, especially right after vet school. You graduate like, yes, let me get, into my career and start working, start finally actually maybe earning a living. And then you get out and practice and you're like, oh God, what antibiotic do I grab for this? And is this the right thing to do? Is this the right recommendation? Or is this the right, you're just going to doubt yourself right off the beginning. If you don't, congrats, you're one of the few. But no, I think it's something that comes probably with every profession, but when you have so much being put on you as the veterinarian, I think it can definitely be a lot to combat. I remember my first job out, how much I did feel imposter syndrome and didn't feel necessarily good enough or like I was doing the right thing. Especially for me, a lot of it was with maybe some large animal stuff because I still hadn't become very fluent in it, and it was very sporadic when it would come in.
Right.
So I think that everyone's going to hit that. What about for you? Do you remember feeling that way?
Definitely, like coming out of school and like thinking, it's this weird thing. It's like, all this stuff. I went through vet school, went through internship, and like you feel like you can take on anything. And I would say it's like moments too. It's not like it necessarily always is there. You might go through like moments of it too. I think even as an established professional, you go through those moments, and I think it's a sort of growing phase of that. And I think it's important to recognize it because, according to the American Psychological Association in 2021, they had reported that studies show up to 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their careers, which
And that's just people in general,
that is
right?
people in general. Yeah. So, and I know that as veterinarians, we're more sensitive to things. So I would be interested to see what the numbers would be in the vet world. But yeah, definitely, like, I've personally felt that. I know a lot of my friends have felt that, and at different times in our careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of that too with the veterinary community is knowing if I mess up, there's a really good possibility I'm going to be blasted on social media or Google reviews and whatnot. And then you don't want that to, blow back on your practice. So there's a lot of pressure that I think we put on ourselves as vets that, yes, I mean, we've got to deal with those things, but we kind of let it overwhelm us. And that's where the doubt comes in. I'm not good enough. Am I making the right decision? Should I pass this off to someone else? Because we've just got so much pressure and we're not using the tools to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to talk about and recognize that it is common. I mean, 70% of people, that's a lot. And it's not a reflection of one's abilities, but it's something it's more of like an internal sort of battle that I think we all need. We all face at some point.
The first time I met pretty much all of my social media friends was at WVC, Western Veterinary Conference. And I just remember walking into the exhibit hall because we were all going to try to meet up, and walking in and seeing people's faces. And it was like, I already knew them. They were my friends.
Yeah.
And so walking in and be like, hey, and I mean, just instant connection. I mean, it's just, we've known each other for a long time, and just getting that connection was so great. And I think it's so important to be able to have something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it enhances your everyday and that sense of belonging. I think the community piece is so important in that, feeling you're not alone, that you have people even across the bazillions of miles, that you have people that you're sharing experiences with that are going through similar things. And it's a very strong need I think all of us have. And I think it's really cool that you were able to establish this through an online presence or a social media presence. So, and it just shows the power of that, these were people that you didn't meet, but you already had that connection.
And if I would have never really done social media and gotten into it, I would have never really met these super awesome people that are now my friends and colleagues. And, I can meet up with them at conferences, make conferences more fun. It's always fun to go with a friend.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just, you think about what you could have missed out on if I didn't have this opportunity. I took the risk. I
let's just
made a fool of myself, and it gave me these connections that I have now.
It paid off big time. All right, that's a wrap on season 1 of the Vet Reset. I hope these highlights inspired you, encouraged you, and gave you some practical tools to reset and recharge your veterinary journey. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. Your passion, resilience, and dedication continue to inspire our entire community. Remember, great care starts with great systems, and empowering your team unlocks the full potential of your practice. Until season 2,